things can be going well around you. Things can be working, things can look right. But there's a disconnect from life. There's a feeling of completely not being where you are at the same time of being there. And there's a constant search for that place, constant trying to discover and be present. And we're searching for that. So what we're going to try and do tonight, we're going to try and engage on two different levels. Okay? The first framework that we're going to engage with is we're going to enter into one doorway. As we know, there's a framework when we talk about entering into the shul, entering into a sanctuary. We're going to try and enter into our own sanctuary. And the way of entering into a sanctuary, it says that you have to have two entrances. So a shul or a synagogue or a sanctuary needs to have those two entrances. What's going to be fundamental for us, I'm going to start off with that, is the first entrance is going to be leaving a part of ourselves behind. A part of ourselves that we think we are defined by. A part of ourselves that we hold on to very dearly because we don't think that there's anything beyond that. Now, where a lot of meditation engages on that level to leave a lot of almost the shedding of this dead skin that exists in our lives, there's not a next step. The next step is entering into a deeper place of energy, of vitality, of connection, that once you tap into that place, you feel present in life. You actually feel like you're in this room. If I were to ask you now, do you feel like you're in this room? Are you being bombarded by all these different feelings, thoughts, like what the hell's going on type of thing, or what's your feeling? And if I was to then extrapolate this feeling now to many other circumstances in your life, that you may be sitting at home. Are you even present at home? Are you even there? Can you even think of one moment today that you actually were not running for the next moment and trying to find something in front of you instead of actually engaging with what's right there? So that's what the two entrances represent. Okay, we're entering into one entrance. We're going to be leaving a certain part of ourselves behind. It might be a little bit scary to do, but we're going to discover something through that. The discovery there is a discovery of silence, of expansiveness, of connectivity. Okay, I'm going to go through that in a moment. The next stage, which is the second entrance, is accessing our deeper selves. Okay? So, just as a preamble to the initial meditation that we're going to do, I want to bring to you the words of our sages. And the words of the sages, you have to understand, when we engage with these words, what they do is they take us to a place which is almost removed from all of the billboard, all of the confusion that's in our life. And by tapping into those words, we're able to glean a sense of our deeper selves. So I want you to listen to the following, and let's try and see what we can gain from it. The experience of being where you are and not being there at the same time is a feeling of destruction. It's a feeling of complete and utter destruction. You look around you and you feel that the things around you aren't actually there, you're not actually there, you don't even see yourself there because you're constantly projecting yourself. And the word for destruction in Hebrew is something called kalein. Kalein means to destroy something. And we know that that is one of the biggest curses a person can get. Because I'll share with you in an interval where a person was cursing the Jewish people. With this curse, this was the ultimate curse. If you could say any word in one moment, which word would you say to the Jewish people? To yourselves? Which would be the most destructive force in your life? Is the word destroy. a feeling of completely not being present. And that is something we know a man called Bilam comes along and curses the Jewish people to say, Kalein, destroy. And a very strange reality is found within those words, or within the letters within that word. What are the Hebrew letters of the word Kalein? The Hebrew letters in the word Kalein are Chaf, Lamed, Mem. Chaf, Lamed, Mem. Now these are very important for our meditation, because when we have an order of engaging with ourselves in the lettering of Chaf, Lamed, Mem, we are in a state of destruction. So let me tell you what these letters represent. There are three energy forces in your life, in your body, in your existence. And when certain energy forces are more powerful and are prioritized, what takes place is they jam your essential engagement with who you are. The energy sources go as follows. There is something that the Kabbalah refers to as your liver, which is your kaved. Your kaved is a hub of energy that's found within your body, and we're going to discuss what that represents. The next source of energy in your body, and these are all symbols or representations of this energy force, is something called your lave. What's your lave? Your heart. The final one is your moyach, your mind. What happens in your life is you have an energy source called your liver. Your liver is associated with your physical framework. So you may be sitting here now. You may be feeling something in your body. Maybe a sensation of like anxiety. It may be a feeling of pain somewhere in your body. Your heart may be palpitating. You may just be feeling the heat of the room. I actually told them to turn off the aircon, which was my mistake, so you can blame me. You may be feeling tired, and that's okay. So what I want everyone to do is just to enter into that state of their kaved, of their liver, which is your blood source, which is the energy in your body. And I want you just to enter into that framework of your body. Just come and almost sit back into it and feel that energy force. I want you to maybe just sensitize yourself or bring a consciousness to anything that you're feeling in your body. Could be in your face, could be a tense feeling in your forehead. Your eyes might be sore from the day. Your mouth might be dry. Feel anything in your body. Could be a pain in any of your limbs. Could be just a simple feeling of not feeling present in your body. Now this is a very important energy that exists in our everyday today. A simple sensitivity to the energy that's in our body. If we don't honor it, it screams out for attention, and it creates a constant jamming system to your deeper self. So I want everyone to breathe in deeply and breathe out. Now with the breath, the next breath that we're going to take in, I want you to breathe in just a complete connectivity to this energy in your body, and breathe out any part of you that's holding back that connection to what you're feeling inside of yourself, inside of your physical being. So breathing in that connection to whatever you're feeling, bringing the air to those areas, and breathing it out. Slowly bringing yourself into the framework of where you are, into your limbs and into your body. That's the kaved. The next section is something called the lave. So as you sit there, keep your attention in your body, Honor any of the places that you're feeling. It's okay. Those are places of energy that's trapped there, that needs to be released, that needs attention, that needs love. But we spend so much of our day using our emotions, worrying about and attaching them to so many different frameworks, that we don't take our emotions and channel them into the areas that are trapped and into the areas that are in pain. This area is called your heart. I want you to take the energy of your heart, take the energy of your breath, take the emotion of love and compassion, and draw it into yourself. Bring an attention to any place that you feel tense, any place that you feel a sense of blockage. While doing that, maintaining a slow and calm breath through your nostrils. The final part that we have that creates the most blockage, which we fight with so often to try and regain a sense of self, is our mind, is our moyach. Our mind shoots so many things at us, presents so many things as smorgasbord of thoughts, but none of those thoughts have nutrition in them. None of those thoughts provide you with any end. An endless, endless search through a forest of thoughts. So I want you to bring your attention just into your breath, honoring any feelings in your body and any thoughts that you may have. Slowly redirect them to your breath and redirect them to the present moment. It's normal for your brain to come up with more thoughts. But with compassion and understanding, bring yourself back into the present. This is a time for you to let go, a time for you to recharge. Now with a new form of consciousness, and possibly a little bit more of presence, I want you to open your eyes and look around the room. Or you can just look at a specific place in the room if you don't feel comfortable to look around. And maybe sense the different type of engagement with the room now. Can you find a different energy around you? Is there an energy of blockage that we started off with, the feeling of complete disembodiment? Is there a little bit less anxiety maybe inside of you? Now what we refer to as state, of taking all of these parts of ourselves that are bubbling. There's so many places inside of us that are bubbling constantly. It's like an acid reflux of the inner self. And it's bubbling because it doesn't have compassion, it doesn't have that positive energy that it needs. Now the initial parts of our body that is just in pain or is just in need or is just looking for something, that is a part of us that needs to slowly be put into place and say, relax, we're going to get to you, we're going to shine light into you. The emotions that you're feeling as well, that's okay as well. Leave those emotions where they are. What we do is we then bring in a consciousness, an ability to say Let me be present. Let me be where I need to be, which is right here, right now. Your mind is settled and present. It's there, it's here. This, when we're ordered in that framework, is referred to as a melech, a king. A king takes his mind, his moyach, his men, takes his emotions or her emotions, and says, let me not have those emotions constantly screaming out for attention. Let me not have the bodily sensations constantly screaming out for attention. Let me bring my consciousness back to where I need to be, which is here, and shine that energy through into those places. When you're in that state of presence, you become a king. Now this is a short exercise of slowly calming down. This is the first place of entering in. Okay, I'm going to say one final thing, then I want to bring your attention to a deeper concept. When I say what I'm going to say now, I want you to feel the energies that come out inside of you. Then we're going to discuss a little bit of what we felt. These parts of our body that we discussed, before we continue, are there any questions on what we discussed now? So, this experience that we may feel on a day-to-day basis, an hourly basis, a minute-to-minute basis, you might be feeling it right now, is a framework which is discussed as 3 things taking you out of your life. These are 3 manifestations of your ego, which is a false identity of who you are. What are these 3 places? So it's brought down that there are 3 things that take you out of yourself, out of your world. The rabbis bring down 3 things, moitziin adam min ha'olam. 3 things take you out of the world. What are they? The first one is something called kina, which is jealousy. The second thing is called ta'ava, or taiva, which is desire, bodily engagements, feeling like you need to be there with your body or here, experience something. And the final one is a feeling of recognition, a feeling of love from others, a feeling of being placed on a level beyond all others, which is called kavod. Appreciation and love from others. This is a deep, deep desire that every single one of us has. The first one, jealousy. So you may feel an energy inside of yourself of jealousy. What jealousy looks like is trying to acquire something that's not there with you right now. Trying to take something that's outside of you and bring it into you. Not feeling that you have everything that you need right where you are. That's a feeling of jealousy, needing something outside of yourself. You may look at another person and say, I need what they have, or someone else has another circumstance, I need that. That's a false part of you trying to assert and find yourself. The second part of that takes you out of your world, is we spoke about your desires. Parts of your body that try and chase after other things. And the final thing is your ego. A very deep part of your ego, which is the need for recognition and honor. The need to be loved, the need to feel connected to others, to feel valued by people. Okay? Now, why do these things take us out of our worlds? Why do you think it's something that takes you out of your life? What do you say? Why do you think these 3 things take you out of your space of right here, right now?
Well, the first one I think is a bit more obvious, just because it's looking at other people and what other people have, which is not what you have. So obviously that takes you out of yourself. Yeah.
Okay. And why would you say desires, Joe?
I feel like
all of them are like external things. Like all of them require, like Taryn said, all of them require you to look outside of yourself, and also they're all things that like are kind of dependent on other people, but not dependent on your own sense of self and your own sort of things that you could do for yourself. They always are relative to other people or other circumstances that you don't have control over. So you'll always be searching for something that you probably won't get because the goalpost will move.
Always move.
Yeah, because if you're jealous of this thing, you might attain it, but that's not how jealousy works. It's always about wanting to grab something further and further and further away from yourself.
So I'll give you an analogy. Thank you for that. The person may resonate with this concept. You can imagine an individual that's got nothing and he's completely destitute, and a man comes past him and he says, listen, I'm going to give you a stick. And you see that field all in front of you, that land that's all in front of you. I own all of it. I'm going to give you this stick. You can walk as far as you want. And when you put down that stick, that land will be yours. So this guy is amazed. This is the most amazing thing. Imagine someone says that to you. Imagine you can take as much land as you want. And what takes place in this story is the man walks quite a far distance and he thinks to himself, looking back, wow, this is a huge amount of land. Maybe I should put the stick down now. Instead, looks in front of himself and he says, but look how much more there is to gain. Look how much more I can achieve. Look how much more I can attain. And he continues to take those further steps forward and forward and forward until the story goes he never is able to put down that stick. And the question I ask you is, when is it enough to actually start living? When is it enough? What do you have to attain? What do you have to achieve in your life to actually be able to start living? Do you have to make a certain amount of money? Do you have to have a certain amount of experiences? Do you have to have a certain amount of recognition in your life that you're actually finally able to say, great, now I can go into a mode of existing? Because the scary recognition is if we focus on our lives in that framework, that it's only once we do the following, it's only once we tick the following aspects, only once we attain this, attain that, or placate that person, or win over that individual, can we start existing. But the scariest thing is if we live in that mindset, we are never existing because we never have anything. You could be walking with that stick till you're 85 and you've never put it down. And that's a startling recognition, because if we're able to wake ourselves up to a consciousness of living with our deeper self, which is found in the present moment, which is found in life itself. Because as Joe was speaking about constantly looking for what's in front of you, it's the assertion of your false self which denies life, which is trying to assert itself saying, you can find me, which according to Kabbalah is the Eitz Hadas Toivara, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That you're constantly finding out what's good, what's evil, and you don't know where to actually put down and tap into life itself. That's always found in front of you, behind you, on the sides, but never right here. And I'll tell you why we don't want to be right here. Because we don't realize what is right here. We're scared of what's right here. We've been taught that what's right here is nothing. We've been taught that if you sit down, and I remember even being in a religious framework, and being told that right here is a bad place. You always have to be somewhere else other than right here. You always have to be doing something, getting somewhere else. Now this is a poison that has entered into the minds of so many people, if not every single individual. This is a poison that has come into us since we ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and we were kicked out from a place called Gan Eden. And do you know what is sitting at the gates of Gan Eden, stopping us from entering in? You know what it is? Martin, do you know what it is? What's sitting there at the entrance of the gates of Gan Eden? We refer to as a cherev hamsapeches, a sword that spins around. And what it means is that your life is constantly spinning. The happiest you may be is going to sleep at night because you finally know, gosh, now I can somewhat be. I've just been grinding the whole day and I haven't found anything. Maybe tomorrow I'll wake up and I'll be a new person. Maybe tomorrow, with all of my grounding, I'll be able to find something. And the same pattern goes over and over and over again. That's the cherev hamsapeches, this sword that's spinning and spinning and spinning around. Now, according to Kabbalah, your deepest self is deeply associated. This source of presence and being able to be here right now is deeply associated with the term melech, with the term king. Because what does a king have on his brain or on his head, or a queen have on her head? What do they have? Ilan? A crown. Now, why is a crown so unique? A crown is the secret of our discovery of the deeper self. So let me tell you about the crown, and I'm going to end off with a story or a parable which will really illustrate this concept and help us tap into this deeper self. Then we're going to end off with a meditation of really aligning ourselves with this source of energy that we can bring into our lives, that we don't have to constantly feel like we're chasing our tails. Does anyone know what the crown represents in Kabbalah? What is a crown? What is the Hebrew word for a crown? A keter. It's interesting to note that it's brought down that the reward of the righteous will be that they sit in the world to come with crowns on their heads. So I always thought to myself, shkoyach. Wow, amazing. You get to sit with a crown on your head. Like, what's so unique about sitting with a crown on your head in the world to come? Until I saw an interesting insight by someone called the Ben Ish Chai. And the Ben Ish Chai and the Ben Yoada, a very deep Kabbalist, Sephardi Kabbalist, brings down that he says the crown has jewels on it. And the only avenue that you're able to glean from this energy or this basking of light from God is that these jewels are able to sort of reflect the light into you. To be completely hit with this light, it's too much for you. You can't actually even feel it. It's too much. So the crown is almost like this antennae that allows you to draw in this energy into you. And that's what he explained this crown to be. It's almost like this source of connection, this ability to attach yourself to a deeper state of being. That's what the crown is. Let me tell you an analogy, a parable which is brought down in the Gemara. It's a very deep parable. When I tell it to you, you know a parable is deep because you'll look at me and be like, what on earth are you talking about? You know, there can't be anything in this parable. So the parable goes as follows. This is, you know, I often say this parable right till the end of a series, because to really engage with this parable, you need to have some type of marination in these concepts and to really appreciate it. I'm going to give it to you. And I'm going to give it to you because I want you to meditate on this parable when you're with yourselves, when you're feeling a sense of anxiety, when you're feeling like you're just chasing your tail. I want you to hold on to this parable because what's found inside of this parable are extremely, extremely deep doorways to yourself. Okay, so let's discuss the parable. This is found in the Gemara. in Bava Kama. The Gemara says, this is written about 2,000 years ago, this parable. And it's brought down haphazardly in the Gemara. It's like, oh, by the way, it doesn't even make any mention of anything specific in this story. And it speaks about, a person's territory. And it speaks about an individual who decides he's going to renovate his home. So he's sitting there deciding he's going to renovate his home. And he decides, listen, there's a thoroughfare, a public thoroughfare that passes the side of my home. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of the refuse that is in my home. And what do I do with it? So what do you generally do with all the rubbish? You put it in a bin, you take it somewhere, you dispose of it somewhere safely. In South Africa, you're lucky if it gets picked up. But what happens is he decides he's just going to take all of the refuse and chuck it over his fence. Chucks everything, just chucks it all out of his home, chucks it over the fence. Okay? It says that a chassid comes past. Now a chassid, there weren't any chassidim as we know it today. It doesn't mean a guy with payas and with a long coat, may have had a long coat. They didn't probably even have coats there. So it doesn't mean that you have this chassidish guy walking past, but a chassid means a person that's deeply connected. Deeply connected to the extent a chassid is someone that wants to go beyond. That wants to follow further, wants to find more nutrients because he finds that there's so much depth in there that he wants to go even deeper. That's what a chassid is. And that's how it's almost translated today with individuals that want to go further and tap in deeply. So listen to the terminology. This chassid walks past and he says to this guy that's chucking all of these things over the fence, and he says to him, Reika. Do you know what a reika is? Anyone? What's a reika? A reika, Rory?
Full.
Opposite of that. The term rake means empty one. Empty one, he says to him. Empty one. What are you doing throwing from a domain which isn't yours into a domain which is yours? This is what the chassid says to him. So the guy looks at him, it's like, we used to do this, you see someone like chucking litter, it's like a favorite pastime of mine. You like stop them, like, listen buddy, like what are you doing, don't chuck things on the floor, what are you doing? And they feel embarrassed, like, listen, okay, you're right, I'm sorry, it's actually, you made a good point. What does this guy say then? He looks at me and says, buddy, you got it wrong. I know you found me chucking this out, but you got it wrong. What's wrong about it, Ryan? What do you think is wrong about this statement of the chassid? He says to him, what are you chucking from a domain which isn't yours into a domain which is yours? Is there anything wrong about the order here, gentlemen, ladies? Should be the other way around. Here he is throwing from his home into an area outside a public thoroughfare. If anything, you would say he's throwing from his area, his domain, into an area which isn't his. The story continues the following way. This is part B of the story. Part B, the Gemara says, is this individual hits hard times and he has to sell his home. And it says that he's walking through the marketplace, he's walking through this thoroughfare, and he's bemoaning the fact that life's so difficult and he's had to sell his home and he's stuck on the streets now. So much so that he's hit with this immense focus on his pain and suffering. And then he's walking, and what does he stumble on? He stumbles on the same bricks, the same refuse that he threw over. That's what the Gemara says. He threw them over, and that's what he stumbles on. And now he realizes, that's what he meant. The only domain that he has is the public domain. That's always yours. Everyone has a right to the public domain. And the only domain which is never yours is the domain which you call your home, which you are trying to settle in, which you are trying to establish yourself in, which we try very hard to establish ourselves in and think only one final thing and I'll make myself here. That's the parable. What on earth does it have to do with ourselves? And this is a very important key to the crown and to finding the crown in our lives. What are you? Who are you? What makes you up? What is your essential self? Where do you find yourself? Is it looking in the mirror? Is it in the clothes you're wearing? Is it the friends that you have? Is it the money that you own? Is it the job or position that you have in your life? Is it the activities that you do during the day? And people generally say, yes, that's what it is. And if I can maintain that, great. And what they do is they subjugate their deeper self to the refuse. They throw things over. They throw things over into their deeper self. They say to themselves, you're a nothing. What you're telling me now, this deeper involvement with myself doesn't exist. There's nothing found here. There's nothing found in the moment. There's nothing found deep inside of yourself. And we chuck rubbish into that area. But the stark realization that life sends every single person, no one is exempt from this. It's usually the people that you think are most exempt from this that are the ones that are hit the most. Life sends you reminders that the homes that we're building is not your domain. What are we scared of? Imagine I told you now, you know where you find your domain? Great, shkoyach, you know. It's a great place to go live in. Go live on the streets. You want to live on the streets? No. Ryan? Maybe. It could be quite cool. Right. There's a lot going on in the streets here. It can be nice. No? I mean, it's not a very good thing to aspire towards, to live on the streets. You know what I'm saying? So let's meditate on the following and let's discover what it means to live in a domain which is a public thoroughfare. What I want you to do now, anytime I say meditate or look like a meditator, we get into this position here. It's quite nice. I like it. So we close our eyes. I'm getting into that as well. But you know, the true test is where we're going to be able to inculcate this lesson into our everyday, that you'll be able to engage with your eyes open with life. And you're still there, you're still conscious, you're still present. Okay? We need to. Why do we immediately close our eyes? Because we're trying to say all of this domain that's around us, that we're associating ourselves with, let me just shut it down for a bit. Let me just get cozy and nice inside of myself. It's so nice and peaceful here without looking at anyone, without looking around me. So nice and peaceful and cozy. But we're going to try and find that peace and coziness that is with you every single moment. And it's going to take you to let go. Okay? It's going to take you to let go of everything that you associate with yourself. Because I have a stark recognition to share with you. Something which I grapple with, and something that we as humanity grapple with. Because that sword is very fast and very sharp. And that is, in order to find yourself, in order to find your truest self, you need to let go of trying to make a domain. You need to let go of all of your associations at the moment. You need to understand that all of the things that we define ourselves by, even our physical infrastructure, even the things that we do, that's not who you are truly. There's a deeper, deeper, deeper self that is there that we're going to enter into now, which is referred to as the Reshus HaRabim, the public domain. And it's called the public domain because it's a place of nothingness. Nothing is there. Nothing is there, but at the same time, every single thing is there. Nothing is there, but everything is there. In Kabbalah, we refer to it as Yesh Ma'ayin, as something from a nothing. I want you to enter into a state of nothingness. It doesn't mean that you just shed yourself. It means that yes, we have our emotions. That's how we started off with. We have our emotions, our feelings in our bodies. We have our thoughts. I want you to rise above every part of yourself that we spoke about into a place called Keter. You can do it now. Enter into the present moment. I want you to hear a silence around you. Even though you may hear my voice, even though there may be music outside, bring yourself into an expansive energy field. A nothingness that has everything inside of it. A place that's beyond your thoughts. Almost like a crown seated on top of your head. An emanation of consciousness inside of you. According to Kabbalah, the name that's associated with this energy force is the name Ehyeh, which means I am. Tap into the Ehyeh that's in your life. Just a state of I am. Beyond all thought, beyond all emotion, beyond all feeling. Maintain your breath. Maintain a feeling inside of your body, but allow your consciousness to rise beyond. If you feel or you experience any thoughts of future or past, any emotions pulling you away from yourself, from your deeper self, which is the nothingness that's there, which is everything. It's an indication that you could go deeper inside, deeper. Bring yourself deeper into a state of silence. State of consciousness where you're so awake but silent at the same time. Draw down that energy, allow it to completely envelop you. Allow it to pour through every part that we discussed, all the places of pain, all of the places of blockage. Allow it to filter through and purify and heal those areas in the deepest way. And it's discussed that the lower waters and the upper waters were separated. It says that the lower waters pine to be reunited with the upper waters. Same too, these blocked energies and these places of pain, crying out to be reunited with this state of consciousness and presence with the present. In this state, I want you to bring yourself now to just the simple experience of feeling the air coming into your body. Maybe through your nostrils, feel the sensation of that air. Through your mouth, feel the sensation of each particle passing through and entering into your body. Slowly open your eyes, looking just down in front of you. I want you to try and channel this energy. Again, not thinking of anything. Don't allow your mind to start jamming your experience. Just enter into that state of nothingness with your eyes open. Feel yourself in your body. This is the level of Melech. The level where all of the energies are calibrated, one underneath the other, tapped into its truest source. You may feel a concept or a feeling of menuchas hanefesh. It's not a concept. Tapping into that deep state of eheyeh, of I am, and filtering it down through every part, through down into the brain, into the mind, into the heart, and into the liver, allowing it to pulsate through every part of your body. It's a state of menuchas hanefesh, it's a deep connectivity. Our meditation for today. You can bring your awareness back to the room. You can smile. Thank you. So let's unpack for 5 minutes. And in unpacking, I want you, don't get into thinking mode. Okay? Don't get into conceptual mode of I need to protect myself and I have to say the right thing and I need to, get back into my body, because then you back into that place of anxiety and place of complete disconnected reality. You're decapitating yourself with this kerev hamisapefes. But does anyone want to share from a place of I am? How did you feel? What did you experience? Did you experience anything? Is there a part of recognition of that deeper place that's inside of you? Well, let's start off with anyone that didn't feel anything. Did anyone feel complete? It's nice, maybe my voice is nice to listen to, it's quite a nice environment, it's quite relaxed, but we didn't feel any ascension, no framework of elevation. within this experience. Anyone feel something like that, Jack?
No, I just want to say that something.
That what?
I just want to say that from my experience.
Yeah, please.
So like, you were saying words and stuff, but I couldn't really focus. But then like, even though you were saying it and I didn't really understand what you were saying, it was still having like an effect on me in my mind.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So there's, the words that we speak, and it's important as well when you connect to other people as well. Your words aren't the place of connection when you speak to someone. It's the energy and the silence behind your words is the place of connection. And you know that when you have a person that's saying, hi, how's it, how are you? And there's no depth behind a framework of communication. As opposed to a person that's, hey, how you doing? What's going on? The words are just signs, places to point. But the energy that comes underneath those words is your essential self. And that's also an understanding of your involvement with your day-to-day. Your manifestation in the world is not you. Where you walk, where you move, where you talk, where you do things, there's a silence underneath that which is you. There's a place of I am, of Eheye, which is this crown of energy that's coming into you, which we have to bring ourselves and sensitize ourselves and calibrate ourselves. We don't know about it because all of these other things are bubbling out. So thank you for that, Jack. Anyone else want to share anything? Right.
There's almost like a numbness throughout my body, almost like the more I try to be present, or rather, as you were saying, kind of going up towards that almost light that you were speaking of, like the more almost like numb, and not numb in a bad way, just numb.
Numb in the body, and then did you feel any energy? Did you feel any connectivity? Or just a numbness in the body? Because generally when they feel that numbness in the body, it's now a vessel, it's now like this cup. Imagine this cup was oozing with all these liquids, I can't sit there and drink what's inside. This cup is numb. It has a life force, it has an energy, but it does its job. And the body itself as well, and the emotions, to a certain extent, are that vessel for that energy that's there. So that numbness that you may feel in the body is a real aliveness as well at the same time that, I actually feel my body. When have I felt this? That I'm actually in my body. But it may be a sensation of feeling numb as well. Yeah. Any of the ladies?
I'm feeling a bit sick at the moment, so actually it was, like,
I don't know if it's my accent or the teaching.
No, I've been very queasy today, so I actually really struggled because every time I would try and sort of empty my mind, I would get hit with a wave of nausea, and then I would have to really I would cram my mind full of thoughts in order to not feel in my body, because as soon as I became too aware of my body, I felt really ill. So at some points I was just chopping tomatoes.
Wow.
I was thinking I have some really nice ripe tomatoes, I wonder what I can do in there. And then I was stacking the dishwasher, and I could feel I was cramming it. Those are not things that are just wandering into my brain. I was cramming them in, these very mundane things to distract myself from how uncomfortable I was feeling in my body. But I don't know if that's almost maybe just because I'm feeling sick. So then every time I would be too empty, I was just way too aware of physical sensations in my body. So I would really be struggling to
Amazing. It's an amazing point that you're sharing. And if you understand, there's not only a feeling of feeling nauseous, but when you go through life, there's a lot of things that happen which you don't like. You can be sitting in a traffic jam.
Yeah.
And then what happens is you try and get yourself out of that traffic jam, and the brain starts hitting with chopping tomatoes. And it could be all different thoughts, and it's a mechanism that we've sort of taught ourselves to I don't want to be here now, let me get myself somewhere else.
Yeah.
But what you can do in those states is realize that sickness is trapped energy, is a place where energy is leaked out, is not contained in an appropriate way, and it's screaming out. And by bringing yourself to firstly understand that your experience, maybe physically or emotionally, is not who you are, don't associate those places of experience with who you are. Rather, bring yourself to that energy of I am, and shine that energy into that sensation. It's almost, instead of jamming yourself, there's a powerful energy of I am. That being said, if you don't have a familiarity with that energy force and with that place of existence, when you're in a silent place, when things are going well, that's why it's important when you have moments of sobriety or consciousness where things are going as planned, where you're walking along the promenade, or where you're able to sit down and things are quiet, to tap into that state of I am and train yourself to be familiar with that place. Because if you don't train yourself in the places where things are going okay, imagine when it's really uncomfortable to tap back in. You're going to run to the quickest thing you know, and the quickest thing you know is that spinning sword. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. Anyone else? I'm going to share one final thing.
For me, there was also this idea of humility that kept coming in.
Yes.
I didn't want to try to develop the thought because I wanted to try and be here, but it's funny that was my thought, because it's almost like to counteract being and doing, you have to be humble and realize that you just need to be.
100%. And that is the essence of life. And if you see what everything in life is pointing towards, is tapping into that state of humility. Humility is not denigrating yourself or feeling low about yourself. It's letting go of all the false things that you define yourself by, and tapping into a deep, rich energy that's inside of you and the gifts that's there right now. That's humility. The ego, which is the opposite, and we'll end off with this, is an acronym for edging God out. And when we speak about godliness, we speak about that expansiveness, we speak about that place of connectivity. We speak about your truest nature and your truest essence. And the humility that you're talking about is essential to being in a state of menuchas nefesh, in a state of yeshuva das. The cherev, that sword, is your ego entirely. Thank you for sharing that. Alright guys, thank you.